you think about it, when you talk to other people about death and dying, it's not so much the death that they fear, but the dying that they have issues with, or that they have fears about or concerns about, the manner in which they die.
Well, I mean, I guess the reasons I believe that euthanasia is wrong morally is because God, as creator, is the only one who has the right to begin or end life.
I don't believe in giving somebody something to make them die. It just is not something we would ever do because, I took an oath in nursing and that is the way it is.
From my perspective, I don't think to me, it's wrong. And the reason I say it's wrong is because, first of all, it's you're taking somebody's life. And from my upbringing, just, through the biblical teaching, God gives you that life, and only He is the one that determines when or how you go. And then as a Native American, as Navajo, we also consider life very important. And no matter how old, or how young someone is, just the sacredness of life, all living.
So could I justify essentially killing someone, right, if I'm going to hasten their death, so that they could get to heaven, so they no longer have to suffer here on earth? No, I think there needs to be a whole lot more conversation and relationship before that.
All living things, have their place.
As a society, some questions were being brought up. Should these people, severely handicapped mentally, physically, be kept alive at the society's expense if we decide that we don't need to keep them alive? We end up being like Nazi Germany, which systematically took the life away of those they felt had no value to society. So then we put value on a human life.
Or just spending time with them, letting them know that it's not just your body that makes you valuable to me, but it's your personhood, your relationship with me is important. So let's find either other people or myself to just spend time with you and demonstrate that you are still valued, even though you don't have that physical ability anymore. And God put us on earth here, and we need to deal with that.
I do not believe that euthanasia is right. I believe that God provided us with life and that He has a plan for our life. And if we elect to, or if we choose to do euthanasia and to take our own life, I do not feel that that is carrying out God's plan.
Well, I think God is in complete control. He's sovereign over it all, and He's got our days numbered. And I firmly believe when you put someone on life support, it is the human being's medical know-how and our response to. But I also think that you put that person on life support to try to figure out if there's anything more medically that can be done. But if not, then I think you take it off, because that's God's way of saying it's over. And I think He knows our days before we're born. We're knit together in our mother's womb, and He knew how long we're going to be on this earth. And we're not going to be here 1 second longer than He wants us on this earth. So.
Now, there are a lot of good, moral, well-intended Christians who would argue we keep life going at all expenses. I disagree with that, right? First, I question, what do you mean by life? Because for me as a nurse, there's a biology to our body, but there is a spirit, there is a soul, there is a person, there's a human being, and it's not just about the physical life, the heart beating, the kidneys working. It's about the personhood embodied there.
Yeah, but when I look at the medical field, and I am thinking about everything we have done to give longevity to people who otherwise would have died, have we gone maybe too far as well? That's a total different question.
Yeah.
Do we keep people alive no matter what? Because what does it mean, suffering beyond belief anyways? If suffering beyond belief may be different for you than for me.
Questions, I'm sure. I mean, I know there's a lot of Christians that it would be pretty black and white that no, you can never do that. I think, as doctors, one of our we're taught to do no harm. Some people would say, well, that's doing harm. Well, maybe letting them be in pain and letting them live a very poor life because of it, that's doing harm to it.
Is allowing someone to suffer merciful? Especially if they are a Christian, if their faith is solid and they know they are headed home. Is mandating their continued suffering merciful? We don't know how many people Jesus walked by in the Bible times that he didn't heal. He allowed them to suffer, to die on their own. We certainly have examples of his healing interventions, but he didn't just physically heal them. He worked with their souls, their personhood. He restored them to viable, community relationship. Shalom. Right? I think if we're going to value life, we need to value dying as well. We need to, as much dignity and value we place on living, we need to continue that preservation of dignity and value in the dying. We need to come to terms with our own mortality, and we need to do that before those hours right before we die. And we've